Meeting to order. Please all rise for the salute of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is convened in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act of New Jersey. Let the official minutes reflect that adequate notice of this meeting is provided by publishing a notice in the Asbury Park Press on Wednesday, January 8th, 2020, the Press of Atlantic City and the Star Ledger, and also forwarded to the Toms River Times, Toms River Patch, and WOBM News on Monday, January 6, 2020, and thereafter posting same on the Town Hall Bulletin Board for such notices, and filing same with the Township Clerk pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Township Council on Friday, January 3rd, 2020. The meeting dates have also been posted on the Township webpage. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Here.
Councilman Kopp.
Here.
Councilman Lotano.
Here.
Councilman Roderick.
Councilman Roderick had reached out to me last evening and said he had a doctor's appointment this evening that he had to make and was unable to make the meeting. Motion?
Motion to give Councilman Roderick an excused absence. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Councilman Turnbach.
Here.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Here.
Council President Maruka.
Present.
First item on the agenda, the approval of minutes of October 27th, 2020.
Move the minute.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Tonight, for honoring resolutions and presentations, we will be acknowledging Veterans Day, Small Business Saturday, the Girl Scout Gold Award recipients Rory Ledbetter, Isabella Onofredi, and Jillian Peslak, and the retirement of our Township Registrar, Cindy Farrell.
Move the honoring resolutions and presentations.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Council Vice President Gagan. Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
And Council President Maruka.
Yes. Council, we have a couple presentations. I know the bid director is here, Marilyn Bellick, and we'll also be doing a presentation for our retiring registrar, Cindy Farrell. If you would like, meet us in the front. No, I can just, no other people will be speaking to. What we have here is a proclamation from the mayor and council proclaiming Saturday, November 28th, Small Business Saturday. This was started, I think, a few years ago by the Small Business Administration and also American Express, and it has been our routine to bring in the bid director from our downtown, where most of our small businesses are located, and to present you with this in regard to Small Business Saturday. And if you can just give us a brief description of what you have planned.
So the Saturday after Thanksgiving, we're doing a small business Saturday where all the businesses in our district will be giving out discounts, special menus. And we encourage, especially in this troubling time, for people to come out the small businesses and really help downtown and support our local community. Thank you.
Thank you, Maren, for everything that you do for our business community and our downtown. We appreciate it. And we have the 3 proclamations for our Girl Scouts. We're going to be giving them to the troop leaders, and they will be presented at a ceremony that they're having at a later date. Now we'd like to ask Cindy to come on up, Cindy Farrell, on her retirement. Cindy has her family here. We'll bring you up in a little bit for some photos and everything. Oh, okay. Her certificate's already on her desk. Just a little bit about Cindy. Cindy's worked for the township for 40 years. She started, and you know what? Only about 45 years old, I think, or a little older than that. But she started in our mailroom, which is in the clerk's office. And then she went to deputy registrar and then registrar. And she's a registrar for our vital statistics. And just by that title, vital statistics, it tells you what a vital part she was of our team here in Toms River Township. And she's always done a great job. She's been there day in, day out. And I have just one question for you. Who started the township first, you or Mark Mutter? She did. Ah! Oh, see, they went to school together. That's why I said that, because her and Mark graduated school together. So, like I said, 40 years here. It's going to be hard to replace her, but she has been training her replacement and more members of our clerk staff to do just as good of a job as she has. And thank you so much for your 40 years of service to the residents of Toms River. I know the mayor has a little presentation.
Just what you need to retire. You wanted to punch in Cindy's been a model employee over the last 40 years. I do rounds during the day, and I always go down to the registrar's office, and she's training her replacement, Danielle, who's a lieutenant in the state of New State. And we're also training an assistant registrar too. So we'll have 2 people down at the registrar's office, but Cindy has been here for 40 years of the township, and the majority of the time in the registrar's office. Aside from the first 4 years in mailroom and everything like that, was deputy registrar. I don't know how we're going to do births or marriages now. That's a different, so. Congratulations and enjoy your retirement.
Would you like to say some words? Can we have Cindy's family come on up if anybody wants to take photos or anything? Or... Come on, guys. We're going to see Omar. Thank you.
Your brother looks just like him. Who's for Photoshop?
All right, everyone look here, center.
Thank you so much, Cindy. We appreciate it. You want to continue, Allison, please?
Yes. Item 7, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Section 477-62, Schedule 4, Time Limit Parking of Chapter 477, Vehicles and Traffic of the Township Code, repealing the 1-hour time limit parking prohibition on both sides of Route 35 northbound at all times between Harding Avenue and First Avenue. Final reading.
This is a public hearing and final reading on this ordinance. Anyone wishing to speak on this ordinance, please raise your hand. Called upon, come to the mic and state your name and address for the record.
Seeing none, I move to close the public comments portion on this ordinance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move the ordinance on final.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Lotano?
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach?
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan?
Yes.
Council President Maruka?
This request for this ordinance was brought to us a while ago by the OBVTA, the Ortley Beach Voters and Taxpayers Association. They had advocated for this. They do have a segment of their organization, which is the business community, and they advocate for both residents and businesses. So it was at their urging that we had proposed this ordinance, and I vote yes.
Next, item 8, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, vacating a portion of an unimproved street known as Evans Avenue by the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey. Final reading.
This is a public hearing and a final reading on this ordinance. Anyone wishing to speak on this ordinance, please raise your hand. When called upon, come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Seeing none, I move to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move the ordinance on final.
Second.
A motion was made by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Councilman Kopp. Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Lotano?
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach?
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan?
Yes.
Council President Maruka?
Yes.
Item 9 is a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements and the acquisition of various capital equipment, appropriating $5 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,750,000 in bonds and notes to finance a portion of the costs thereof, authorized in and by the Township of Toms River and the County of Ocean, New Jersey. This is a first reading, and I do report that the supplemental debt statement was received by the from the Finance Department in the Office of the Clerk.
Before council speaks on this ordinance and makes a motion, I'd like to call up our CFO, Mr. Davidson, to just give us a brief little overview. And if you could please speak on number 10 as well, because they kind of go hand in hand.
Hi, Council President. Yes, bond ordinance that we're introducing tonight in a total amount of $5 million. About half of that, $2.25 million, is for the local match of a federal build grant. That's about $5.6 million of federal money that we won't be able to receive from the federal government for the Downtown Loop project unless we appropriate a local match of this $2.25 million. This $2.25 million will be spent over the course of 5 years while we complete the project. So we're essentially getting $3 from the federal government for every one of our own dollars. The second part of the bond ordinance is a federally mandated radio change. Not to get into too technical terms of it, but the federal government is mandating we change our radio frequencies. Because of that, we have to incur substantial costs for radio towers, portable radios, dispatch equipment. We have split the cost over a number of phases to roll it in over the time. This is phase 1 of that. It'll go primarily to replacing our core, which is running a server with Windows 97, so it's vital that we get this updated. It'll be able to utilize both the old frequency and the new frequency we have to go to, as well as the first batch of portable radios that will both use the old frequency and the new frequency. In addition to this, the following resolution, after this introduction of the bond ordinance, we're canceling an equal amount, $5 million, from an old improvement authorization. We're doing this to maintain our spending level, so we're authorizing $5 million on one side and canceling $5 million on the other side, so our spending authorization stays zero. Additionally, our net debt, it's a calculation that we have to do annually, will remain below 1% for a township of our size. That's pretty good. It'll actually be decreased by this because 5% of the bond ordinance we're introducing is down payment money. So we're canceling $5 million of authorized but not issued monies, spending authorization, but we're only authorizing $4.75 million. So our net debt will actually be reduced by $250,000 as a result of these two items.
Thank you for that explanation. And just for the public's knowledge also, the BILT grant, this is a federal grant that Toms River Township received. We were the only one in the state of New Jersey to receive this grant. It is for infrastructure improvements and some shoring up of some bridges and things like that within our downtown area. And also, like Mr. Davidson had said, the Phase 1 is a federally mandated radio frequency change for our police department and our emergency services. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
giving us the update. Council's pleasure.
Move the ordinance.
Second?
Motion was made by Council Vice President Gagan, seconded by Councilman Yurick. Council Vice President Gagan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Lotano?
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach?
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Item 10, which was just discussed, the resolution canceling $5 million of general capital improvement authorizations.
Move the ordinance. Move the resolution, I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion was made by Council Vice President Gagan, seconded by Councilman Turnbach. Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Item 11 is a resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, supporting the efforts of Congressman Smith, Van Drew, and Kim to correct the inaccuracies of the Social Security Administration's cost of living administration formula while also implementing a 2-year emergency 3% COLA to help protect our seniors.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Council Vice President Gagan. Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Item 12, a resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, authorizing submission of the best practices inventory to the State of New Jersey Department of Community Affairs.
Before we move on this, Mr. Davidson, would you just mind coming back up for a couple seconds and just give us a brief overview of what this means to the public?
Council President. The best practices inventory is a list of questions promulgated by the Division of Local Government Services. It's a state organization. It is, there's a number of questions in there divided up into 3 categories. There's core competencies, there's best practices, and then there's unscored survey questions, which is essentially just temperature gathering by the state for data analytic purposes at the state level to know what's going on in the municipalities. Annually, they send out these questions, we have to answer them internally, and it's discussed here tonight. I can tell you that if you don't score high enough according to the state, they can reduce your state aid numbers. That threshold was 16.5 points. We scored 21.5 points. The maximum score is 24.5. So we fell well within the range of comfortableness. We are receiving 100% of our allocated state aid next year. Again, these are best practice suggestions by the state of New Jersey on how best to run a municipality.
Thank you, and congratulations to you and your department for helping us achieve that.
Thank you, Council President.
Council's pleasure on 12?
Move the
resolution.
Second?
Motion was made by Councilman Turnbach, seconded by Councilwoman Yurick. Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes. Next, we have the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired on any item, that item will be considered separately. Does anyone on the council have an item they wish to discuss? Okay. Anyone from the public have an item they wish to discuss? Okay. Council's pleasure?
Seeing none, I move the consent agenda in its entirety.
I'll second that.
Motion to move the entire consent agenda made by Councilwoman Yurick, second by Council Vice President Gagan. Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
Next, we have the reports.
Move the reports?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Lotano, seconded by Councilwoman Yurick. Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes.
And next, we have the bills.
I'd like to move the bills with the exception of 20-05129, payable to Kevin Reardon. I would like to table that, but I would also like to request from the council president that I can make a comment on that prior to us tabling that.
Okay, are we tabling it to our next council meeting, or?
That's what my request would be,
Okay,
yes.
so it's a table to date certain of November 24th.
So just so the public's aware, this is another bill that we are going to have to pay due to Councilman Roderick's political stunt. I would like to ask a question of our CFO, if he doesn't mind, Mr. Davison. Could?
You're having a busy night, Alex.
Yeah. Mr. Davison, has Councilman Roderick sent a check for his last bill that we had to pay regarding this political stunt?
My office is in receipt of no check from
Okay.
Councilman Roderick.
I appreciate that, Mr. Davison.
Thank you, Councilman.
So now that brings his total up to $6,000 that he has not paid the township back for his political stunt. Okay, Councilman Roderick talks about how he's saving the taxpayer money, but then he goes and makes a political stunt that's costing $6,000. At this point, I think as a township, we do need to look at ways that Councilman Roderick is going to start reimbursing us, or we are going to have to look at ways where he's going to either receive late notices and penalties, but at the end of the day, Councilman Roderick needs to pay this bill to be right for the township. He talks about how he's saving taxpayer money, but another bill that we see here was just a political stunt. And that being said, I look to table this to the next meeting, so Councilman Roderick does have the opportunity to vote yes or no to this. And that being said, I would like to move the bills with the exception of 20-051.
Let's, council, but you're just going to make this one right now, and then you can go into your abstentions, okay?
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Motion made to table Bill number 20-05129 to Kevin Reardon, tabled to next meeting of November 24th, made by Councilman Kopp, seconded by Councilman Lotano. Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick. Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Yes. You can continue, Councilman Kopp.
So I'd like to approve the bills, but I need the following abstentions of 20-05475 payable to Berkeley Township, and 20-05465 payable to the Borough of South Toms River. Yes to the balance.
I don't believe we had a second for the bills list.
I'll second it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Yurick.
I actually do not have any abstentions tonight, so I vote yes on the bills.
Councilman Kopp. Councilman Lotano.
Thank you. Yes, with the following abstentions, please. 20-03018, payable to Preferred Behavioral Health. I have a conflict. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Turnbach.
Abstain from P20-05601, payable to Toms River Magistrates. I'm a local attorney in town. I have conflict with Toms River Magistrates. Yes to the balance.
Council Vice President Gagan.
Yes.
Council President Maruka.
Abstain to 20-05-601, payable to Township Payroll, line item 88, payable to NJ MVC Lease Program. I have a conflict. Yes to the balance.
Next, elected officials' comments.
Mayor Hill?
Thank you, Council President. Tonight, I'd like to honor Officer John Sullivan. John will come forward. John's been a Class 2 officer with us. You've seen him around Town Hall. Unfortunately, we're losing him to Brick Township. He's a native of Brick Township. He was offered a job here in Toms River and a job in his hometown, and for obvious reasons took the job at his hometown. We're going to miss you, John. I appreciate it. And thank you for your service to our town, and good luck with your assignment in Brick.
Thank you. Really
Okay. Last Friday, Cub Pack 92 and Boy Scout Troop 92 cleaned the debris from the old Methodist Cemetery in the corner of Hooper Avenue and Washington Street. Our township historian, Mark Mutter, provided a history of the cemetery and some of the original prominent Toms River residents who were interred there. Now, the boys and their scout leaders worked over 3 hours cleaning the debris from the cemetery, and our public work clean communities removed the debris from the cemetery, which had been neglected over the past several years. On behalf of the council, Councilwoman Laura Urick and I presented the Cub Pack 52 and 92 and Troop 92 with certificates for their community service. Also want to point out it again this Friday. We have food distribution. Will be at the Presbyterian Church on Hooper Avenue from 11 to 12:30. In addition, on Saturday at the same site, the Presbyterian Church on Hooper Avenue, from 12 to 2, the Barbecue Relief will be providing 1,000 hot meals. So they've done that in the past, and it's a big hit, so get there early. And they'll be there from 12 to 2. Tonight, I'd like to also talk a little bit. The governor made a proclamation, if you will, an executive order to close bars at 10 o'clock and restaurants. Well, it may not affect the restaurants a lot because most restaurants usually have their last seating around 8 or 8:30. I can see this affecting the bars in town, such as the Office Lounge. Seaside Heights has Cleese. They're sports bars. They have multiple TVs. They're on till midnight. And if you've been in those bars, the seating at the bar area there may be 2 chairs, and then there's a social distancing. If the governor truly is working on the data driving the dates and the data driving the numbers, I would question what's the difference between 10 o'clock and midnight closing time? I mean, is the virus more deadly at 10 o'clock or after 10 o'clock than before 10 o'clock? It defies science. And if we're going to talk about this disease in science, then we need to look at numbers. Every day, I receive New Jersey Hospital Association numbers via Community Medical Center. Currently, right now, in the Central Jersey region, we have about 400 patients that are COVID positive or patients under investigation, what they call PUIs. They're waiting the test results. Now, I've asked the hospital administrator, does that mean that they're there primarily for COVID, or could it be another disease? And the answer is they could be in for kidney failure, heart failure, and they tested positive on the way in. Right now, as of today, we have 27 patients, or 4% of the ICU beds, occupied by COVID positives or PUIs, patients awaiting investigation, patients under investigation. I don't see how the governor can say he's using data to make his decisions when he's arbitrarily made a decision to close the bars at 10 o'clock as opposed to leaving them open until 12 or 1 o'clock. And I don't know the closing time on all the bars, but I fail to see the logic or the science in this. And I think at this stage, this disease is going to be with us, and we're going to have to learn how to safely live with it. Yesterday in the news, the vaccine has been proven by Pfizer, has been proven to be 90% effective. There is an antiviral medication that's out also, which shows promise. We know the safety factors. We have to wear masks. We have to socially distance. We have to, sanitize our hands. We can't lock up the economy and our society. The damage is going to be done on mental issues. It's going to be done with domestic violence, and we're going to have problems with opioid addiction. And I fear for our young school children not being able to interact with their classmates. And that's an important part of their education. So going forward, I would implore our governor to loosen up the reins and let's look at this in a logical, scientific way, and let's proceed forward. Let's just don't arbitrarily pick numbers or dates or 25% or 50%. Let's look at what can be done safely. And I would implore him to do the right thing and use the science. And if it's truly the data driving the dates, then let's do that. Tomorrow we celebrate Veterans Day. Veterans Day originally started as Armistice Day, celebrating the end of World War I, which was considered the Great War. It ended on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. Since that time, 21 years later, we had World War II, which lasted from 1939 to 1945, and then followed by the Korean War from 1950 to 1953. In 1954, the Congress decided to change the name from Armistice Day to Veterans Day to celebrate the service of the veterans of all our wars. In World War II, we had over 16 million men and women in the military. It was about 11% of the population. Today, our veterans compose about 7% of our population. At any one time, we have about 1% of our population on active service. Most of our veterans are not career officers or enlisted. They're citizens like you and I that volunteer to serve 2-year, 4-year, 6-year, or short service in the military. Those are the people that we're celebrating tomorrow. And God bless the fact that we have them to defend our freedoms in the past and those who defend our freedoms today. And God bless this United States of America. And always remember, freedom's not free. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Hill. Councilwoman York?
Thank you, Council President. There's a couple of events that the mayor only missed one. There's actually the Angelic Health is opening on Water Street on Thursday, the 12th. I think it's Thursday. And then Councilwoman Maruka and I attended Rocky Horror Experience. I know Councilman Latano did as well. And Councilman Kopp. Presented by Exit 82. So there's so many small businesses in town, as the mayor just illustrated, that during the COVID shutdowns, the businesses are really, really struggling. And so this was a safe opportunity for Exit 82 to try to keep afloat. And they are talking about planning something for Christmas time. So it was a great experience. It was really fun going from place to place, and it felt very, very safe. Mm-hmm. So, and then lastly, I'd just like to thank the Board of Elections at the county level, our clerk, Scott Colabella, and his office, as well as our municipal clerk and her office. I know they worked incredibly hard on this very difficult election because of the pandemic. It was extremely challenging, so a big thank you for that. I wanted to congratulate our CD3 Congressman Andy Kim on his reelection. As you saw in a resolution this evening, he is constantly fighting for our seniors, our military, our joint bases in his district, and he fights very hard for us in Congress on bipartisan issues. He really strives to work bipartisanly as we do on this council. So I'm grateful that he's going to be there for another 2 years. And then I'm excited as a woman in politics that we have tentatively, I know there's still discrepancy, but we have tentatively elected our first female vice president on the 100th anniversary year of the 19th Amendment, where women were actually allowed to vote. And it took another 100 years for a woman to reach one of the highest offices in the country. So I just want to acknowledge that. And I'd also like to acknowledge the fact that I recognize that most voters in Toms River and Ocean County did not vote for the presumptive president-elect. And I want the voters to be aware that I have a personal commitment to continue to work in a bipartisan fashion as I have from the beginning, and that I will continue to work with my council colleagues regardless of party. We may approach issues from different perspectives, but we always have the same goal in mind, and that is to provide the best township we possibly can to the people of Toms River. And so I firmly commit to continue that. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman York. Councilman Kopp.
Thank you, Council President. So just want to congratulate Shut Up and Eat for winning the Asbury Park Reader's Choice Award again this year. It's a place that me and my wife definitely like, and my daughter definitely like to visit at least weekly. Also, the bid is asking for if there's anybody that would like to volunteer. They're going to be putting up the snowflakes going up on November 21st. November 21st. And if you would like to volunteer, please reach out to the bid. And that is all, Council President. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Kopp. Councilman Latano?
Thank you, Council President. I want to talk about something that just finished downtown Toms River that was very successful. It was the Scarecrow Walk. I think there was at least 20 scarecrows, maybe a little bit more. There were people downtown all the time looking at the scarecrows. Families were coming down. People were bringing their kids. The weather's been very nice. And the scarecrow that won was number 17. It was the Headless Horseman, Huddy's Headless Horseman Scarecrow. It was pretty excellent, I must say. And the other thing I want to talk about is something I heard a rumor that the holiday tree lighting was going to be canceled, and that is not accurate. It's scheduled for December 4th. As always, the bid is going to put it on, and they're going to do it as safely as possible. So there'll be social distancing and I'm sure mask requirements. Hopefully we're able to have that, but it is scheduled for December 24th. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Latano. Councilman Turnbach.
Thank you, Council President. And Councilman Latano, I believe there was a young Latano that won the People's Choice Award for the Scarecrow, so congratulations. On Small Business Saturday, I'm excited to see that's November 28th. The Toms River Education Foundation that afternoon in the downtown is going to be hosting a 5K run, walk, or roll with all proceeds to benefit the students of the Toms River Regional School District. So a great day to come downtown, support your local businesses in the morning, run off a little turkey in the afternoon to support our local students, and then after the race, Capone's, the distillery, and the Battle River Brewery will all be open. So it should be a great day for Toms River. So come out and support your local businesses, support your Toms River Regional School students, and get involved. November 1st, 2020 marks the beginning of the Code Blue season for municipalities in New Jersey. And Code Blue is a program designed to provide temporary shelter to individuals who are facing housing insecurity when temperatures drop to 32 degrees or below. Code Blue authorizes municipalities to open up overnight warming centers to provide protection from the elements so that at-risk individuals do not suffer serious health concerns or even death from freezing temperatures. In Ocean County, Code Blue program serves a critical role as Ocean County remains the only county in the state of New Jersey without a year-round transitional housing center for at-risk individuals. In 2019, only 2 of Ocean County's 33 municipalities operated Code Blue programs. Those 2 municipalities were the townships of Lakewood and Toms River. Lakewood's Code Blue program operated out of Lakewood Community Center, and Toms River's program operated out of the Riverwood Recreational Building at Riverwood Park. When only 2 of 33 municipalities operate a Code Blue program, inevitably residents from other municipalities in Ocean County are going to seek shelter from the elements at Lakewood or Toms River facility. If these facilities are not at maximum capacity, the individuals from municipalities without Code Blue programs will be taken in and offered a warm place to sleep. Last week, it was brought to my attention that the Lakewood Community Center has been sold and that the Code Blue program is presently not operating in Lakewood. This leaves Toms River as the one municipality in Ocean County adhering to the laws related to Code Blue and providing the shelter to those in need. This is simply unacceptable. Just to give you an idea, the Code Blue shelters are housing 50 to 60 individual nights between both shelters. So you have to think that we're in a COVID pandemic right now, where we're going to be limited in how many people we can take in Toms River, and now we're cut in half with Lakewood. So I'm respectfully calling upon the other 32 municipalities in Ocean County to step up and do their part in providing for the homeless residents of their municipality in accordance with the Code Blue laws. Unfortunately, I've sat up here for 3 years. I've respectfully called upon the Board of Chosen Freeholders to act, and they're consciously choosing not to act on this. But their failure to lead does not mean that our local municipalities should follow suit. As winter is fast approaching, the temperatures will be dropping. Local residents who are suffering from housing insecurity in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic should not be left out in the cold. I want to be clear that housing insecurity is not a partisan issue. In fact, last year it was Ocean County Senator Robert Singer who spearheaded the compassionate and humane legislation to change the Code Blue temperatures from 25 degrees to 32 degrees. Ocean County Assemblyman Greg McGuckin co-sponsored the identical bill in the Assembly, and based upon both leaders' efforts, legislation became law. This is something that our county should be proud of, not something we should ignore. Now, Code Blue kicks off a plan when a township or municipality has 10 or more homeless in what's called a point-in-time count. And presently, there are at least 5 to 6 municipalities in Ocean County that have that. I'll give you the numbers. Toms River, presently in the 2019 point-in-time count, has 87 residents that they would deem homeless. Lakewood has 50. Seaside Heights has 49. Brick has 34. Point Beach has 10. In 2018, Beechwood had 10. Seaside Park had 10. According to law, each one of those municipalities should be working with the county, and they should all have Code Blue shelters. I'm so proud of Toms River for their efforts. I'm proud of Just Believe Inc. for what they've done. It's really those efforts that spearheaded the change in the law across the state of New Jersey last year, so we should be proud of it, but we've got to urge those municipalities that fall within that point-in-time count to act. So we're going to urge Lakewood, Seaside Heights, Brick, Point Beach, Beechwood, Seaside Park to speak to the county freeholders and open up these warming centers. Toms River is always welcoming people in, but with the COVID-19 pandemic, we're not going to be able to sustain that. And until we respectfully get the county to move on a transitional housing center, Code Blue is all we have. And that only runs from November through March. It's not the answer. It's certainly a Band-Aid to a problem, and I'm going to continue to urge the county freeholders to please keep an open mind and see the great work that's done. Obviously, when we have 50 to 60 individuals a night, there's a need. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Turnbuck. Council Vice President Gagan.
At this point, I have no further comments. Thank you.
Okay. I just have a few things I want to cover. First, I'd like to congratulate Officer Sullivan. Toms River's loss is Bricktown's gain. John, it's been a pleasure working with you here, and all the best of luck on the force in Brick. Also like to welcome Anthony Merlino back up to the dais. Mr. Fitzsimmons retired at our last meeting, so Anthony will be with us now up here at our council meetings from our law department. And my next congratulations go to our business administrator and his wife and family on the birth of his first grandchild. So, Pop, you want to give us a couple little details?
Well, grandson number one, Everett James Dean, was born Sunday morning at 4:55, 6 pounds, 13 ounces, 20 1/4 inches long. My daughter Kathleen had a C-section. Everybody's doing well, and we hope to have them home tomorrow.
That's great news.
It is great. Thank you all.
Congratulations, Lou.
Thank you.
The mayor touched about the Veterans Day ceremony. Normally we have a Veterans Day parade. Obviously that's not happening, but I urge everyone that could make it out to Bailey at the Freedom the Statues of Freedom there. That's where it's going to be, so it'll be social distance, it'll be outside. The rain's going to hold off to the afternoon. We're going to be fine with that. And please come out and support our veterans. Also, on Saturday, please come out to Operation Barbecue Relief. That's going to be from noon to 2 at the Presbyterian Church, and they're giving out 1,000 dinners there. If we have any residents that are in need and maybe cannot make it out there, I know we do this with our food distribution. You could just email any one of the council members or give us a call, and we would make sure that dinner would be delivered to you. We'll have some volunteers for that. We could also use some more volunteers. Also, on the 14th, Toms River Police Department will be at their headquarters between 11 and 2, and they're going to be having signs for sale that say support Toms River Police Department. This is a fundraiser. I believe it's for their foundation. They'll be set up right there at headquarters, which is at 225 Oak Avenue, and that is from 11 to 2. We have lots of good stuff happening this weekend. And just a couple more things. With the holiday season upon us, the Mathis House in downtown will be hosting a ladies' night for shopping on every Wednesday evening from 6 and 8. Josh, Matt, Terrence, make sure we all tell girls to get out there and do a little shopping for that and support our local businesses there. And then also our downtown dining continues through November 28th. So after you've either walked or ran and had a little bit of pasta at Capone's, a couple drinks, you might want to go home, have a little nap, and then come back. And that'll be the last night for dining the downtown as it's scheduled for right now. And also, if you have any questions, you can contact the BID about their incubator, which is at 53 Main Street. I know they're having a new tenant move in, and there's a ribbon cutting ceremony on Friday, November 20th at 3 p.m. for track. That's all I have right now. I would like to open it up to the public. Anyone from the public have anything, just please raise your hand. Once called upon, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and we'd be happy to answer your questions. Mr. Anderson.
Art Anderson, 12 Park Street. I just want to thank the council for the overview and explanation of the resolutions. I don't know about anybody else, but it definitely helped me understand them better. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. We figured that would be easier than coming up with questions, having our CFO come on up and explain a little bit so the public can get the general gist of what we were trying to do with that, okay? You're quite welcome. Anyone else from the public wishing to comment this evening?
Seeing none, I move to close the public portion of this meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to move into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975 permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances to discuss matters requiring confidentiality and/or of a privileged nature, and whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Toms River in the County of Ocean and State of New Jersey as follows. The Township Council will now conduct a private executive session. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed and/or acted upon is as follows. Matters of personnel, attorney-client privilege, and contract negotiations. The following specific items to be discussed and/or acted upon are as follows. Executive session minutes review of October 13, 2020. Personnel issues of both the Township Clerk's Office and Administration. The review of status of all real property acquisitions and RLUIPA matters. Department of Justice investigation. Status of pre-litigation negotiations with Department of Justice. It is anticipated that the deliberations conducted in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Council that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. Motion to go into executive session made by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Councilman Turnbuck at 6:47 p.m. with all in favor.
bringing back our hunting licenses. And now we're official. So now we're like, all right, we can go hunting. Yeah, so we got bow and shot. So yeah, so I was like, so I told Matt, I'm like, I shoot pheasant before. It's not that bad. It's like chicken. So I was like, shoot pheasant. Don't shoot pheasant first. And I was like, really? Yeah, I was like, oh, pheasant. Shoot pheasant. So, yeah, we're trying that this weekend. And then we're going to work our way up. Right now,
Okay.
I know. We got turkey, deer.
We get a motion? You good, Al?
Do I have a motion to go back into general session? All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to adopt the executive session minutes of October 13th, 2020?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Everybody was here for that meeting, Al?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
And I guess motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
8:22 p.m.